Okay, so we have 5 times 3 to the x equals 12. Now, it doesn't really fit either of these forms. It's not just some number to a power equals some other number. We got 5 times some number to a power equals some other number. What are we going to do about that? We kind of think, well, you know, we ought to be able to do something with that, but it's not quite in this form. Well, we just do a little algebra though. Okay, so we know this isn't quite in this form, but we think we can get it into this form. We just divide both sides by 5. Okay? Didn't mark that down because it's fairly obvious, but divide both sides by 5 and we get this. And now it is in this form where B is 3, X is just X in this case, and C is 12/5. So we put it into the logarithmic form. Okay, we're going to have X, and that's just X, equals log base B. Remember B is 3, so log base 3 of C, and C, as we saw, is 12/5. So what is that? Well, that's by this rule, the log of 12/5 divided by the log of 3. Okay, so all we have to do is recognize when we have a form that we can get into one of these forms, and it's usually going to be fairly easy to see, especially if practice, and then apply it. Okay, convert the equation using the rules of algebra to the form, in this case the b to the x equals c, and then change the form and you get your solution. Okay, what about this one? -6 to the x equals -9. Now there's something here that's a little tricky, okay? And that is, some people want to say, okay, this is b to the x equals c, where b equals -6, x is just x, and c is -9. Well, it kind of looks that way, and I understand why you would say that, especially since we haven't thought through these previously. But and that's not quite right, because it's not -6 that's being raised to the power x. If it was -6 being raised to the power x, we'd have to put parentheses around it. Now it turns out, though, that the domain of -6 to the x is pretty much limited. You can't take -6 to the x if x is let's say a rational number, which in lowest terms has an even numbered denominator. It'd be like taking the square root of -6. You don't have to understand that. I'm just saying that equation would be one that's kind of tricky and with a very limited domain, and that complicates things quite a bit. The main point is you need to understand the order of operations. Raising 6 to the x is an exponentiation. A negative sign is essentially a multiplication by -1, and the exponentiation has to precede the multiplication. Okay, well, so what are we going to do with this to get it into the form? Well, there's no negative on this side, so let's just multiply both sides by -1. So the equation becomes 6 to the x equals 9. Okay? Now we have an easy solution. B is 6, C is 9, x replaces x, so we get x log base 6 of 9 equals log 9 over log 6. There's our exact solution. You can use the LOG key on your calculator to approximate that if you need to. But of course this is the exact solution.